Hello, hello. Okay, everything looks good. So, back on San Francisco since yesterday, and I'm looking to get out of the way something that is always the most unpleasant part of putting these levels together, and that's pathing, especially around these like cliff areas. So, I'm gonna get this out of the way before actually starting to get into like the set dressing and putting in all the small details. But most of this level is functional. Like we have it in the beta. Players can jump in and test it in its current state, which isn't final. And put some time into setting up the bridge so that they can access it from Treasure Island. And definitely did a lot of work on the nav around there, especially for the helicopters to be able to fly over it. We're not really going to allow them to fly underneath it, even though sometimes they somehow end up in there. Um, Apart from that, if that continues to happen, I might make a change, specifically to these volumes here. I might actually end up adding more to these because I'm going to want, let's look at this real quick just so you can see what I'm talking about here. Now, if you were here last week, you saw that I redid the helicopter nav for Calypso, or as most players know it as, I think it's Stray Ember. I've always known it as Calypso. So when I say Calypso, I mean Stray Ember. That was its dev name for me. That's the name that me and Michael gave it. That's the name I'm gonna stick to. But it's Stray Ember, the big map on the island. But that one was even more complicated than this helicopter mesh. As you can see, most of this is fairly flat. There are only like really specific areas where the elevation kicks up a bit, like here at Twin Peaks, and here, and even in these areas, save for Twin Peaks, it's still pretty low to where not a lot of modification needed to be made. But as the testing continues, maybe I will rework it, clean it up more. Because the way I built Stray Ember's new helicopter mesh, Calypso, um, it was super complicated. But it seems to be working pretty well. I haven't heard any reports, but let's give it some time. I mean, I know people have already been playing in it, and I've yet to see. Give it a week, give it a couple of weeks. Something's bound to break. So, with that pending, I'm back on San Francisco and time to do some nav cleanup. Well, I've been doing nav cleanup. This area is pretty much done, I think. I mean, I've been eyeballing it. I keep coming back. This I definitely have to redo. So, you know what? Why not do that now? The issue with this is just sloppy. We're not officially playing in this level yet. So there are parts of the vehicle nav that, or the road nav, that I pretty much just did in a hurry, because we weren't really going to be playing in this map, but now that we are, I might as well improve that. So let me get that out of the way because it is part of nav work. Let's go to the top view. I mean, most of this is good. It's just the circle that's going to need some more refinement. I hate this. I mean, that's another thing I have to fight with while I'm working in here. Is finding a good point to zoom in from so that it doesn't clip too soon. And I do have the settings adjusted for that not to clip so soon, but it still happens. So this volume here, or these volumes, are used for the roads, mostly vehicle nav. For vehicles to find their way across the map by favoring the blue nav, which is this, which you'll find on most of the roads, all of the roads really. This one needs a little alignment here. And rather than cutting through weird shortcuts and, risking getting stuck somewhere, um, they'll use the blue nav instead of the green. Now they're supposed to avoid the yellow completely, so that's what we have the yellow nav in there for. Same thing with the ground units, although vehicles will avoid it like the plague. Not as much. I mean, the ground units avoid it not as much as the vehicles. The vehicles will just absolutely avoid the yellow nav. But the blue nav is what they're supposed to favor when they travel from point A to point B across the map. Okay, what's going on here? Maybe I need to light this. Oh boy, what's going on here? It is lit. Wow. Terrible. Okay, so maybe unlit. Okay, now I can see him better. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this. So it's like, how was it easier for me again? The only thing I can remember is that I had to fight with this view, top view. Unreal would always give me clipping issues. So I have to kind of find a sweet spot to zoom in from so that it doesn't clip too soon. But yeah, this, again, this is why it's going to be a short stream. I've been doing this all day, and it's not the most glamorous or artistically stimulating part of the job, but it's part of the job. But me, I do complain about it a lot, but I don't mind it. It allows me to get more and more familiar with Unreal's god-awful nav system. Again, to understand its quirks, the way it reacts to how I'm doing my work, and what I need to do to get this to work the way I need it to work. And the blue nav is good because it'll keep vehicles from going off-road or taking weird routes. And now that we have destroyable props, if they have, if there ever comes an occasion where they do go off-road and stray into weird territory where they might get stuck, at least they can knock most of the stuff out of the way in order to get through. They shouldn't be getting stuck, because that's pretty much what I spent the last week actually doing, is going through all the levels and testing all of the props, making sure that they were removable. Thankfully, I think I got them all. I'm pretty sure I did, with a little help from people actually sending reports on Discord, pointing out other assets that weren't working the way they should. And I was able to get stuff that I pretty much should have considered making destroyable. Like there was a couple of small structures that one player said, hey, it'd be cool if we could just move this. It's big, it's not really consequential, it's not a populated building. So I kind of looked at it, I'm like, yeah, you know what, he's right. I don't know why I didn't set that as destructible, but I will do that. And I did. So it also kind of involved that kind of thing. Considering people's suggestions, and then, of course, doing the work to set that up how they would prefer it, which, in some occasions they had a point. Others, it's like I'm trying not to remove populated buildings, because if it were populated, um, I probably would have left it, because it was also on a very small map with already a low population compared to others. And I didn't want to take away anything that would add to the gameplay, but that's one thing to consider though, is the tents. There are tents that we have acting as populated buildings in a couple levels, maybe more than one. And when they're evacuated, I guess it would make sense to be able to remove the tent, right? Because it's not a permanent structure like a building or something else. Okay, I think that looks good. I think that'll get the message across. Now I have to rebuild nav for that to update, but it looks better than before. All right, so Next, I was kind of widening this area out here. Straight off from what I was doing, which was this. Road nav looks decent, but it's gonna move. I mean, I widened this out because as you can see, the path was too narrow. Same with this one. I've been doing this with a lot of the paths throughout this level. It's making them wider. So now it's just a matter of moving the landscape, cleaning it up, and but you can see it right there. It was too narrow. It was problematic just the way the nav is drawing in here. So I widened this out. You know, the road nav's going to change because the road's going to be more centered up this new wider ramp. And then just repositioning the rocks and the cliffs. And that's another thing. Deleting certain rock formations that are creating problematic nav. I'm using this one because it's probably like the thinnest one. And it's pretty versatile. I mean, I can rotate it and position it in ways where I can add some amount of variation. I mean, you're going to see repetition, but you know, they do this a lot in video games. So as long as you don't distort it too much, I mean, don't go too crazy with it. You know, one thing I always like to remind myself of is I'm not recreating reality. I'm making a video game. And I think the mechanics and the fun factor are what matter the most in the end. But also the playability. Is it playable? Is this area going to function how we need it to? Is this enough space for the kind of gameplay we've got going on? Alright, take that off. So I'd say some work will need to be done to the landscape before I move on to set dressing. Actually, I'll turn this around. But this rock, I think, is probably the best one out of the ones we have. And the reason I want to use this one more is because eventually I'm going to have to take the time to sculpt out more variations that match the shape of this one. Because you can see right here that the nav picks up the footprint, which is down here, which is why is it doing that when the collision doesn't come out that far and it's not even making contact with that part of the model. It's making part of the contact with the upper part. So why is it going along this footprint instead of going along the contour at this level? You see? And that's annoying as hell. So yeah, then you know that's why I kind of have to do something about what I'm using to line these edges. You know, another level design decision that is more adapting to the way the engine behaves rather than what I'm trying to go for. And then these, I probably could bring it down some, but we have them there as like a barrier, mostly. To prevent units and vehicles from going over an edge that we don't want to go over. Because before I used to have it at the level of the cliff, you know, so that at least the operators can jump off the cliff. And even then, units were getting stuck. It was just a headache. And we had path thing building there. You know, now it's just like completely off limits. It's too much of a headache. See, in this area, I might want to pull these back. Yeah, see, it's taking up way too much room there. Like, it doesn't leave a lot of playroom on that area. Turn that off. But yeah, I mean, I leave it on because I need to check and see how the nav is building and how much more room I need to create within that area. Let's widen this out a little bit more. That one is way too thick. Let's check out the silhouette. I mean, it looks better. You know, at least it'll build up to right there. And again, I don't know why the fuck Unreal builds the nav like that. It goes by the contour down here, not the one that it actually makes contact with up here, like right here. So, you know, I have to do stupid shit like this because of the way that Unreal builds fucking nav. And I haven't figured out how to make it, you know, follow the contour at the level of the mesh that it's making contact with. Kind of like it does at the foot of these buildings. You see how it's nice and snug, like pretty close. It doesn't have this wide wake. But whatever. Unreal wants to play like that. I'll just switch it up, man. It's again, you know, that I'm gonna be burning time trying to figure it out, experimenting with it. I mean, I still have done stuff on my free time with my own personal projects, trying to see, you know, how the nav builds, trying to understand why it's doing that. What settings do I need to mess with to kind of dial that back? And I mean, I could talk about this for hours now with everything I've done with it. Okay. At this point, a lot of this nav is out of date, which is why it's not building all the way out here. I don't know how long it'll take nav to build on this map because I haven't worked in it too recently. Like with Calypso, I know that took like about 30 to 45 minutes. So I've been in that map for the last week and a half, I think. See, that's the original size. Fuck it. You know what? At some point, especially for new levels, I'm gonna need to model some custom cliffs. I can use the same texture and materials, just kind of kit bash something out of it with the new model. To save some time. This shape is it works, but it's not ideal. I'm gonna have to make like a more rectangular cliff sculpture. All right, these need to come out. Maybe to like about right there. Going back to that, I'm still gonna need to play with this. So there's two things going on here. I mean, I found an attribute that I can play with to sort of tighten up the way that nav builds. The only issue is we lose a different kind of traversal, for lack of knowing a better word for it. Um, I've got certain buildings, which I'm pretty sure you might have seen if you play the game, that have like a second floor, and it's more like a balcony, sort of like a motel. Let me see. Okay, there's one example down here. Just cutting away from that. This bad boy right here. See how we've got nav going up? And even then, it looks right now looking at this, this could be a problem. I'm gonna need to tighten this up a bit. I'll do it later. As a matter of fact, let me take a picture of that. Because I'm gonna need more green here. I generalized that way too much. All right, so you see how we have the nav drawing up, by the way, though, right? So in order to tighten up this, what I'm gonna call threshold or the padding, whatever, I have to either, I don't know if I gotta read that again. It's either increase or decrease the steps on how the nav builds. Well, like let's say if I decrease it though, the way the nav behaves is it doesn't draw all the way up to this balcony. I don't know why. Maybe I need to mess with some other attributes that contribute to that. Find some kind of a balance, but you know, that's what I'm messing with right now when I'm not working. It's just trying to understand what the hell the nav's doing and what do I need to adjust in order to get it to behave the way I need it to. So I know for now, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna use these cliffs, but I think their usefulness is limited right now because of the way the nav is building near them. Which is why I've had to come back to these levels and make a ton of adjustments, and I'm pretty sure there are more I'm gonna have to make because of just how the nav behaves. So one thing I definitely need to put some time into is modeling a better cliff asset that doesn't cut into it too much like it does right now. Because that's a lot of play space lost, and that's tragic. And I need to address that. Either by figuring out the nav in Unreal or just creating a model that works better with the way I'm doing this. Either way, it's gonna take some time. I mean, I've done a pretty good amount for today. I could just do this on stream, shift over to doing some R&D with the nav, like I was doing yesterday in the afternoon, but I didn't stream that. Bring this out a little more, create a little more room down this lane right here. I think it's okay if the cliffs actually clip into this. It's not a big deal. Okay, I think that'll be enough for the cliffs. Now let's do some cleanup on the landscape here. And flatten. Selected the wrong landscape. There we go. First, let me level these areas out. Another thing I don't want is some ditch like this going in to the rock. Because there's a good chance that units will get caught in little areas like that. It's the lighting? Yeah, it's the lighting. Thought there's still more of a dip left. Don't want that though. Along this edge, everything seems okay. No, yeah, it is a little uneven there. You know, when I started on the project too, I was just doing level design and modeling. I wasn't really doing any of the nav work until they realized, you know, I'm a fast learner, and I said, yeah, take care of this too. Okay, that is gonna need to come down some. Either push this in, then I'll have to push this back, or dial back the slope on the sides for that spline. Where's it at? 250. I mean, that's not bad. Okay, you know what? I'll move this back. About right there. Bring this back. Like right there should be good. No, no, no. This stays where it's at. I'm just gonna dial that back. Let's see how it, put it at 100. Let's see how that looks. How far in I can level this landscape there. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. That's good. This edge could use some touch up along the edge here. I think that'll do it for this section. Yep. Looks good. So now we got a wider path going up the hill. Vehicles can get up there. They have enough room to maneuver. Large groups. Now I need to update the paint. Start. I mean, this one looks fine. All I have to do is just paint some grass to this area here. This whole thing needs to be updated. The road nav, the road itself, the texture. Oh, what's going on here? Is it not painting over this? Oh, it's just the shadows. Okay. Weird. Yeah, all the way down. I mean, even the design in some of these areas might change. Use different locations. I mean, this one isn't like a. I mean, I could turn this in. I could just flatten it out, add more playroom there. I mean, because there is a hill like that. I mean, I remember we went all the way down this street, came over to the marina or whatever this is. It's like a lookout station for the Coast Guard, I think. It was an old one. And then it had a hill going up to some other barracks on top of that hill. Like you come across this way, come downhill into a park, and that's where they had all those really nice houses. And there was some old military barracks here as well, or Navy barracks, whatever it was, right before you got to the center with the fine arts place. I forget the name. Center of Fine Arts. Is it the Center of Fine Arts? Okay, so whoops. Let's get that out of the way. And maybe throwing some dirt along the edges there. I mean, I could actually just do this on the detail pass. I don't have to do it on the stupid nav pass. But I mean, since it's part of the nav, I need to update this though. The road, like the painting the detail into the texture, that can be done on the detail pass. Since I need to rearrange the road nav, I'll just update this. And the nav volumes for the vehicles. I mean, I might even. Shit, you know what I just realized? Some of these are in the wrong level, homie. These should be in the landscape, not in this level. Because this is all road nav. Like, I'm thinking maybe make some road nav to go out here onto this, what do they call these? But it goes around to another watchtower. And you could drive a vehicle out there. But I think there are barriers there that prevent people from doing that. Although they are removable. So fuck it, let's do it, right? I mean, what, what harm would that do? It'll save me the time of somebody messaging me on Discord later and asking me, well, why can't my vehicle go over here? So, yeah, there's that. I want to make sure. Okay, yeah, this is tall enough. Actually, let me shorten that a bit. Now, the reason I'm doing this now, of course, is because I want to leave all the fun stuff for the end. So it feels like a downhill trip. Because yes, doing pathing is boring. It's boring. It can suck. But I am the only fully full-time active level designer on the team, so I got to do all this shit. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with learning other aspects of what could be your job. I mean, I wanted to learn to build games, right? Do the work, bitch. And this is a part of that process. Might need to actually... let's see if I can align it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, on top of this, it's my responsibility to set up the spawn system, the zone borders. I mean, level designer, right? All the populated buildings for evacuation, and then I'm pretty sure once the factions are back in, I'm gonna have to set up all the bases that they build. Okay, I think that's good. This area didn't really change too much. Let's go to top view again. Okay, that needs some tightening up. That concerns me there. I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I did that. Clearly I wasn't. Or I got lazy. That one should be fine. Okay, so this area is good. The next step is laying out these volumes. Should I use this one? Yeah, I think it'll do. So now I'm going to jump over into blocking volumes. Copy that, bring it over. And now I line all these clips with it. What I want to do is kind of center it. Now what these volumes do is, like I showed you, yellow nav, which vehicles are supposed to avoid, as well as ground units. It's kind of like what I've had going on here. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, that one's not coming out. Sorry about that. But this, that's what the yellow nav is for, is mainly to kind of keep units from hugging the wall. Also, it acts like as a buffer to just not have them hug the wall all the time. Also, so that they have an easier way of getting around these hairpin turns. Because that's what it was supposed to do, but I have to set these volumes to certain settings so that it actually functions like that, which, I didn't know. I thought, okay, let's just put that nav in there and it's going to work. It did, but not precisely enough. And, for all these volumes, I haven't done it for this level, but I've done it for all the others. I need to go in here and, okay, yeah, no collision. And rather than have them set to, okay, it's set to avoid. Wait, no, that's this one I'm looking at. Yeah, set to avoid. But also, can character step up on? No. So once I'm done setting these in for this level, I have to go select all of them, set that to no, and there was another one. I don't think this one has it. I don't think it was necessary for the volumes, only the rock meshes. So units can go around these now a lot smoother. The way I have the rock meshes and the volume set up. They were attributes that I needed to change that I did not know even affected how units got around these things. It's kind of weird. I mean, I knew this one, but when I set it up last time, it wasn't working. And then there was an attribute for walkable slope on the rocks themselves that I needed to set in conjunction to that so that they work together in allowing units to go around those hairpin turns, those bends. So maybe you'll notice as you're playing that when units go around these, you won't see like one or two of them sort of get stuck or derp out like, oh, what do we do now? It's like they should all, slither around those edges like snakes, nice and smooth. Which I don't know why they did that with just the regular setup, but whatever, man. But you learn something new every day. And if as long as it's working the way it was meant to work, I am 100% happy. I will sleep at night. Okay, that looks good. Enough of a yellow buffer, enough room for movement for units, and on we go. But yeah, this is what it is, man. Doing the nav work, cleaning things up, and then after this, test it with units, or rebuild the nav just to see how everything builds. In case there are any other adjustments I need to make. Test it with units. And once everything's good to go, start doing the detail pass. Now, you know what? I want to bring this down actually. I don't want to make these weird concave shapes because I'm starting to learn. I still need to confirm though. Is that creating weird concave shapes sometimes breaks these volumes? Like even this might even break, but it's not too extreme. But I have built other ones that are really extreme in the way they bend and deform that they've broken, that you don't see the yellow build. That usually is a good sign that you fucked that volume up. You have to rebuild it. But I mean, that one should be alright now, not before. So I need to get into the habit of not going too crazy with how I deform these volumes. Keep them fairly simple. Again, it's another thing that affects the way I'm going to be designing levels going forward is if you notice I took a lot of those crazy hairpin turns out of the map, Stray Ember, and just made either straightaway paths or at the very least a 90-degree turn. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too intricate. Hmm. And again, I'm placing an emphasis on making sure that everything works the way it is meant to work. Let's see how high these are. I haven't even been checking. Yeah, that's way too high. I mean, these shouldn't block mouse clicks, but this is too much. This is way too up in the air. So bring these down. A little IL. I should do it. All right, we're good. Again, they shouldn't block mouse clicks. If it does, like again, it's probably a broken volume I need to rebuild. This one I can scale up a bit. No, that's getting a little annoying. Hold on. Do have enough room here now so I can bring this out a little more. Have a little more of a buffer there. I mean, the way I have things set up now, I might not even need these volumes anymore. But again, we need to do extensive testing on that. Like I'm gonna have to pull them out of the level. We're gonna have to cook a build and test to see if my current setup with for these meshes will keep the vehicles off. But for now, like I'm leaving it in there. I don't want to break anything that's already in the build or that's going into the build. But apparently, that's another thing I have to test. I might not need to do this anymore, which would be great because this is boring as hell. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not having a great time watching me do this bullshit. But this is what I need to do to get the fucking game to work the way you need it to. I mean, it's an easy process. All I have to do is take all the volumes, which are already grouped together, get rid of them. Of course, I'm not going to save any of this. Rebuild nav and run units around the map to see how it goes. But I think I still need these volumes, man. Really should test that though. This sucks. I mean, all I really have to do is remove this level, rebuild nav, which is going to take a while. I guess that's the thing that's keeping me from doing it, because at least right now I'm moving forward. I'm getting work done. If I stop to test this, it's going to take a while, which is time I could have just been moving forward on what works right now. And that's the decision that I have to make every day is like, do some R&D to make my life easier if anything comes of it, or just keep moving. Work with what you got. Stick with what works and figure it out later. I mean, I'm gonna have to do it. Something is still pulling me in that direction. Because if I can save myself the time of having to do this in the future, that would save a bunch of time in this process. I'm just gonna finish this section, then maybe I can pop into that and see what happens. So it's what 7 o'clock. So yeah, I've done enough work for the day. It's time to have some me time. Let's create a little more room there. I mean, because these, like I said, they're like buffers, kind of like barriers to keep the vehicles from getting stuck and stranded on these rocks. And the way I have these set up now, I'll go here, walkable slope, walkable slope override, decrease walkable slope, and it's set to 0. And if any units wind up on the rocks, instead of getting stuck, they'll get pushed off. So that alone should allow units to move around these areas smoother and keep them from getting stuck. Maybe we won't need the yellow nav volumes, but something tells me they might still be necessary. But regardless of that feeling, I still need to test that to confirm. Because if it's all good, I don't have to do this shit anymore. I just skip this process, just do the landscape cleanup and the widening of lanes. And move on to the detail pass. That still doesn't negate the fact that these yellow nav volumes have improved nav across the board. I mean, I can't deny that either. Pathing isn't as janky. It's clearly an improvement from months, years ago. here you have it, folks. This is what I have to do right now to tighten up the nav and the pathing throughout the map. To assure that vehicles and ground units traverse from one point to another smoothly and properly. Okay, this section's done. Next, let's see. I think next, I'm having a little debate with myself here on this part. Whether or not I should allow units to path into this pond. I'm thinking, nah, dude, just block it off. Make your life easy. Nobody can go in there anyways in real life. Like, people can sit around it, but I don't think they allow people to, like, go into the pond itself. And maybe it's better if I block it off. So I might end up doing that. The only other thing that I'm debating with is how should I handle the shoreline? Should I put some rocks in there to line it, to act as a visible barrier, or just leave it as a regular shoreline, smooth out the slope here so that it kind of transitions into the pond nicely like it does in real life, and then just line it with blockers that'll keep anyone from entering this area. Just null the nav in there. So you still get nav. So there's that. I'm gonna have to null that out so nothing can get in there. But I'm right now I'm leaning more towards just use some blockers to prevent units from going in. I mean, if any, I mean, it's a really a big deal, and people are gonna tell me, "Oh, we want to be able to go in there." Maybe, maybe, maybe just leave it open, and then after that, over to Presidio. This is gonna need some serious work. I'm gonna spend a good amount of time on this because I need this to go higher, maybe like another level, so that the Golden Gate Bridge can shoot over this fortress and to the other side. Yeah, because I need that clearance. I need that bridge to clear that fortress. It should be pretty easy though. It's just adding another level right here and then a slope. So it's no big deal. Either way, it's going to require a little work because I have to... I'm definitely deleting all of these. Like, maybe in areas where they need to be. I mean, right now it doesn't look so bad. Not like that last section I worked. This is bad though. See, that's what I'm saying. Catches that silhouette, removes a substantial amount of play area there. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but to me, it's like it matters. I'm trying to milk these flat areas for as much playable real estate as I possibly can, and I can't have the nav doing this shit. Which is why I've been taking the time to delete some of these and rework the cliffs. And then there's this area and bird sanctuary here. This definitely needs to be a wider area. At least the path going up needs to be wider. Because that's way too small. That's a serious choke point. I might be doing this one last. That thing is huge. That is a monstrosity. Or maybe just do that one next. Get the big ones out of the way and then handle the small areas. I don't know, I'll think about it. But right now, you know what? I'm gonna do some R&D. Fuck it. It should be quick. I mean, all it really is just getting rid of this level. So it's NSF, blocking volumes. It is saved, right? Yes. And remove selected so that it's no longer in the playtest. And then I'm going to go up to the main level. Bring up recast. Not recat, recast. Delete the old nav and rebuild a new nav over all that. And then just test. I don't know how long that's going to take though. I should probably time it just so I know how long it takes for nav to rebuild in this level. Let's see. So everything is good. Just double checking and wait, save one more time. There's a stopwatch. And build paths. All right. So I'm going to let that build. It's 7 o'clock. It's been pretty much like an hour. I think that's good for the stream today. The work on this is going to continue. I'm going to test this tonight. If everything goes well, I probably won't need to be spending time laying in those yellow nav volumes. I'm gonna have to run it by Rob too. It's like, do we really need him if things are working? Or maybe it's gonna need further testing, but I'm gonna have to run vehicles, ground units through those areas. See how it goes. If it goes well, I'll have him incorporate that into the build. See how it goes in the test build. And if everything's good, then maybe I won't have to worry about doing the yellow nav anymore. Maybe. But something tells me I'm still gonna need to do that. But anyways, while I time this build, I'm gonna cut it off. That's gonna be it for today. It's been a pretty busy day. Like I said, this pathing stuff is boring as hell. And I don't know why I stream it, but something to stream because that's the work I'm doing right now. But yeah, that's gonna be my life for the next few days. And once that's done, moving on to the detail pass. Once the detail pass is done, the 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 level will be a little better off than it is right now because the pathing will be cleaner. The details are going to be in there. There's going to be all those props, bus stops, fire hydrants, street lights, all that good stuff. And the only thing left after that really is just finishing the 3D models for the buildings. Getting all that detail in there and the textures. It's good to go. But it is a ton of work. Either way, it's going to get done. I mean, I've done all those other levels, right? So what's going to stop me on this one? Anyhow, that's going to be it for today. The work on San Francisco continues tomorrow, and I'll be here on Thursday once again doing more stuff for San Francisco. Hopefully, I can get the pathing stuff done by then. Then I can start transitioning into the detail work. There's a few parts of the map I need to rebuild that were lost when we transferred from the old project, but it's no big deal. It's all part of the detail pass either way. So hopefully I can get this done. I don't think it'll be done in the next couple days, but hopefully I'm shooting to try to get it done for the next couple days, get it cleaned up, and we can get into detail before the end of the week, I hope. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Be sure to catch the stream on Thursday. Have a good night.